Warning. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely the personal opinions of Azmat Sherwani and any guest featured on the show. These opinions do not reflect the views of any other organization, Azmat Sherwani, or his guests, who are directly or indirectly affiliated with. All content shared is for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not be considered as fact. Any comments made about specific organizations, in particular, are not limited to Uber, AutoCab, iCabby, Cab9, or Cordic regarding their operation staff or data sharing practices, are purely personal opinions and are not to be taken as factual statements. Please consider this podcast as subjective commentary and not as verified information. Enjoy the show.
First of all, we're going to pay respect to the former CEO who's just left the building, to Zafar. So here are his best bits. Oh, sorry, we haven't got any.
And you went, yeah. I went, yeah, well, he's a fucking liar, right? Because at the end of the day, I know what the truth was.
But to quote, they're saying we're still going to be independent.
Oh, I wonder where I've heard that before.
Yeah.
AutoCab is an independent company.
Yeah.
No.
One for the road. One for the road, are you ready? Let us sit and talk, take a sip and talk. Take a sip. One for the road, everybody. Let us sit and talk.
Hi, and welcome to One for the Road. I'm your new presenter this time, exclusively only this time. I'm David Hunter. I'm CEO of Take Me and also a fellow podcaster with a great podcast called Taxi Talk. However, I'm here in Manchester. I've stolen Azmat's set, and my first and only guest today, we have the one and only Azmat. Hello, Azmat.
Hi, mate, you all right?
We've had this planned for a while, haven't we?
We have had it planned for a while. We were going to do it on the back of the AutoCab CEO change and do a special where you wanted me in the hot seat rather the other way around, should we say? So, but yeah, given the events that have taken place in the last few days, I think it's going to be quite an eventful one.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a deep dive into that. But first, as it's One for the Road, let's do the famous chink.
Chink.
Right, go on, quick as you can. Loosen the tongue. You know, I can't compete with those CMAT boys.
No.
I remember seeing that when they took the drink.
Yeah.
Roger was straight down, wasn't he? And Peter.
Yeah, they're experts. They're experts, those boys. Have you been anywhere good?
Yeah, all good. So I'm delighted to be here. So we were going to talk about the CEO move at AutoCab and the sad demise of, or the exit of Zafar.
Yeah. Yeah.
As he minced off for the last time in that
Right, yeah.
Over at AutoCab. Sadly missed. I'll miss him. Really will miss him.
Yeah.
And they've taken on this. So we will address that. But something very exciting new has happened in the trade. Vizu have acquired Cab9.
What a shock. No one saw that one coming.
Yeah, I mean, you were predicting this from your crystal balls a year ago, weren't you? I mean, and you took some shit for that, to be fair, on all the groups. People like Azmat, you're talking bollocks, you're just shit stirring.
Yeah.
Especially with young James DeVille, who didn't believe he was, all over social media, he's talking bollocks.
Yeah.
But he was the last one in the room to know, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So firstly, I'm going to say, because obviously people will pick this apart, so I just want to be clear that first I want to address Vizu, okay? So
Yeah.
Vizu, for me, are awesome organisation. A lot of my very good pals are there, as you know, not just like
they've stepped to all our mates from the trade. I mean, again, If I was Vizu, if I had their money, I mean, Take Me is very much self-funded.
Yeah.
We're not VC backed, but if I was in their position, I would have acquired either iCabby, Cab9, Cordic, because you need that tech. So from their point of view, strategically, it makes sense. It gives them a larger multiple if in the future they want to sell to anyone or IPO it.
Yeah, 100%. So I think, so going back to what I was saying, so like they're some of their employees, like 3 of them are coming to my wedding. You know what I mean? So they're like we're actual pals and stuff like that. So I think that they're awesome for the industry. I think the deal that they have done again is amazing for them. And if you're a fleet who's looking to get acquired by Vizu, great for you too. Do you know what I mean? Like no. I don't see this.
You should cut out the DD because they've got all the stats.
Exactly, yeah.
So see how well the job counts, driver counts,
exactly, yeah. So and like I said, I think of really highly of Nathan and Arnie and people like Nia Cooper. They're all like fantastic people. and they're all going to do. They're going to do amazing things now with their investment and
Is it an
also
actual investment, or have they acquired? What is the deal?
So,
from what you hear,
so my understanding is that they have acquired. So from what I've been told by various people is that it's been acquired. Now, I've told that by Cab9 Fleets that Tarpit is going to retain shares and he's going to be a major shareholder, but they're probably share options, aren't they?
Yeah, share options work. It's a mechanism you use. So you value a company today.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy those shares, but they're based on the future value. So should Vizu exit to sell to somebody, whether that be another ride-hailing company or IPO, whoever, there'll be a value to those shares in the future. So you can buy them today at maybe £1 a share, knowing that they'll be selling for £10 a share down the line. So that is a share option. So yeah, deals sometimes are done on share options, earn-outs, everything, but it's an investment. Maybe that's a bit of spin. To me, it's an acquisition.
Yeah, so investment's the word that you use to hide an acquisition, right? Usually that's because there's differences or conflicts of interest and stuff like that is a lot of the time was what people would say. So, but again, you're probably the right guy to talk to about this, about acquisitions. So if you own 51% of the company, you are the majority shareholder.
I'm in control, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So that is like my point on it is that Vizu are now that majority shareholder. So anyway, your crystal balls and all that kind of stuff. You were asking about how I found out and all.
How did you find out? Because obviously, clearly, you've got very small crystal balls and don't give away that much information. So you've obviously got your sources. How did you find out?
Yeah, so
a year ago when you took all that shit.
Right. God, I'm thinking, how much of this do I want to say on camera? So,
don't worry, Tom's always got the edit button over there. So you can say it to me.
Yeah.
Whether it actually makes it to the podcast is a different story.
So a year ago, I got told by some major fleets and a couple of people at Vizu and then some other very reliable industry sources that this was going on. iCabby were completely aware that it was going on, that the conversations with Cab9 were going on with Vizu. I think Bob Nixon alluded to it on the podcast when he was here. Me and Andy Pennock spoke about it on the podcast here. And if it was someone who knows their shit, it's Andy Pennock. So I'll be, and you know what I mean. At the end of the day, he obviously was aware. He was aware of it. Pretty much everybody was aware of it. And I did take some shit, and I think a lot of that shit was formulated by Tarpit.
Tarpit. So there was a rumor at the time. Obviously, all that was going ahead, but and people were talking about it. But I think Tarpit at the time sort of said no, it's all a load of bullshit.
Yeah.
And then we're hearing actually the deal had fallen apart due to issues with GDPR insurance and whatever the reason.
Yeah.
But what do you actually think about Tarpit? Do you think he's a straight talker, or has he misled the cult, as we know in the trade, of Cab9? And we'll talk about that cult as well, your view on the cult.
My views on Tarpit, honestly, I think he's a slippery weasel. And
that's quite polite coming from you.
Yeah, it is. And you know what I mean? Look, at the end of the day, like, I think like anything like with regards to me in the industry, people know what you see is what you get. And I pride myself on that. Like, what you see on the outside is pretty much what I am in the inside. If I have an opinion, I'll share it. And, I don't try to sugarcoat things. If I want to go after something or do something, I'll tell you. I'm Mr. Anti-Uber. and Mr. Anti-Ride Hail.
Famous for your Uber.
Yeah, and I've said it to you multiple times. If Uber came and offered me 100 million quid, I'd be gone. You know
Who
what I
wouldn't?
mean?
I'd be off 100 million quid.
Exactly.
Sorts my family out.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So like my family take more priority over anything, and of course I would. But my problem, why am I calling Tapit a slippery weasel? And here's the reasons. Here's many reasons.
Because that actually
why.
quite shocks me. Go on, give me the reason. I'll tell
Right.
you why
Okay.
it
So
shocks me.
why I don't like Tapit? So it started from. So Tapit. I was in a meeting with me, Marcus, Tapit, and his employees. And I'm on about when it first came about, right, ages of years ago. And it was a guy called Saj who works for him. And during that meeting, I can't remember if he told him to shut up or it was an aggressive, like he shut him down, and the way he spoke to him was like, in my book, like horrific. So I was like, what the hell? Me and Marcus, like, I got off the call, looked at Marcus, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I've seen how he was with other employees and stuff like that. Prime example for you, they pitched the Keane Group. Mm-hmm. They went there to pitch the Keane Group. Keane Group guys told me the reason we didn't go forward with them is because he started shouting at James DeVille halfway through. And Paul James, right? So, and I was like, what? So that was one of them where I thought, well, I don't really
Do
like...
you think that's a cultural thing? Maybe it's...
yeah, potentially. Like members of my family, it might be like an Indian Asian thing where members of my family, I will not go to dinner with them because when a waiter or a waitress is coming, they're like the servants. They're like, go get me this.
Yeah.
You go get me drink. You know, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, mate, I'm not sitting with you because like stop speaking to people like that.
That's impolite. But I've been to Pakistan and those Asian way it is. They have like
servants. Yeah,
it's
and
like the old British Empire influence.
And maybe that is that about his character or whatever. And whether that is like, do you know what I mean, cultural or whatever, I don't care. To me, like, to my cultural needs, it's rude, right?
I don't actually know him that well. I've had one experience with him.
Yeah, go on.
And that was when I think it was Neithercab in Plymouth had moved from Autocab to Cab 9.
Yeah.
And one of our managers there put a text out saying, because Neithercab or somebody put a rumour out that Take Me Plymouth were going to move to Cab 9 as well. And the manager took offence to this, said, we're not going with any cheap Indian system.
Yeah.
Neithercab had a very bad experience with it and reverted back to Autocab very quickly. But because of that one text, obviously, I think they thought that was the reason Neithercab moved back. And so it was put out when I think Gary Marshall wanted a demo. He'd approached James DeVille, and James DeVille came back to us and said, sorry, there's no way ever Take Me will be allowed to use the system because of that text. And then we thought, so what he didn't know was that we'd bought a company on Cab 9, so we had a good look at Cab 9 and felt it wasn't for us. Reason being, great on dispatch, the rest of it was substandard in... Not my opinion, but the team that look at it.
Yeah, no, it's in quite a few people's opinions. So, like, I was speaking to James Bradley about it last night, and James said the same thing. He was like, he's had a look at it, and he's just not there. And he was like, that's what shocked him the most about it. Sorry, going back to Tapit. Anyway, so that was my opinion of him. Like he sponsors some of our shows or whatever. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day,
I thought you had a great relationship.
No, it's one of them.
It was one of your key sponsors, right?
Yeah, so in business, it's one of them. I don't have to like you, but I'll take your money all day. Do you know what I mean? It was one of them. So I didn't dislike him, but it was just like, it was like a whatever situation. So he then. So even like, I think until last year, I'd messaged him saying good luck with your show and stuff like that. But it was it is that because that sort of relationship basically. And then when I found out about the Vizu thing, me being me, I obviously went public with it. And when I went public with it, you mentioned calling it the Cab 9 cult, right? Mm-hmm. So that the Cab 9 cult has absorbed some of my good mates from the industry who've switched over to Cab 9.
For example, who?
I don't want to name names, but like they know who they are, who my friends are, you know what I mean? But one of them I actually promised I'll stop bringing up on these podcasts. So, I don't want to do that to her.
Yeah. To her.
Fuck. Right, sorry. It's all right. It's okay. I did say the name, so I'm all right. So, but anyway, so what I will say is that that if you, they formed this family unit, yeah? And in that family unit is like anyone who's like anyone from the outside saying anything about Cab 9, we're going to, you know what I mean? All that.
I've seen those WhatsApp groups when we took over a firm on Cab 9.
Yeah.
We actually saw those. They're quite vicious.
In what way?
Well, I don't know. It's just slagging off people outside the trade.
Yeah.
One of the WhatsApp groups. Again, I'm not going to quote, but I was quite shocked, to be honest. It was quite malicious in some cases. But
yeah.
that's what people like keyboard warriors.
So in that group, and I was so basically, some people who I could care a lot about were really pissed off with me that I was spreading malicious lies about Cab 9. And where it come from is a couple of people have told me that Tarpit had said to them that Azmat is being paid by iCabby. To make always, you know what I mean? But I was being paid by iCabby to make up this rumor to damage Cab 9, right? So somebody said I was scaremongering. A lot of this kind of stuff that got said. Some of the friends I mentioned before didn't speak to me for about 6 months. Literally stopped speaking to me. I had a really good friendship with James DeVille. I didn't speak to him for ages. We're not like didn't speak to him, but we would message. Whereas before that, we would talk all the time. After that, I think he was pressured by Tarpit, maybe like not to speak to me or whatever.
You notice as well, they don't appear at shows. There, I was at PHTM recently.
Yeah, so.
It seems like they're not allowed to go because Daddy says they can't go.
Daddy says no, yeah. So then I asked a couple of people where it's come from, and again, apparently this is what I was told, that Tarpit was going around saying that. Now, calling somebody a slippery weasel in the industry with viewing numbers of a few thousand, is that harsh? Not really, and I'll tell you why. Because so these family units that he's built, and he's got people in India and Spain around campfires holding hands and saying we're a family and crying on stage and all that kind of stuff. Whilst he's been doing all that, he's also looking to sell to anyone he can possibly sell to, okay? Which is business, and it's absolutely fine. But at the same time, don't give your customers and your people who are giving you a lifeline, have built you up now to be able to sell for what you've sold at, don't give them this false hope of that you're going to be some family unit and then sell to what is primarily, after Uber, the largest competitor in the UK. Okay, so we'll get onto that shortly, I'm sure. So but
it's very much. Is this Uber local then? Is this just as bad as Autocab deceiving its customers? We're not deceiving them, but sort of we're here for the fight against Uber and suddenly selling to.
So yeah, I'd just be like waffling on if I made accusations against them. But at the same time. Tarpit has sold his business to, so let's say Martin Walker in Birmingham, right? Vizu have got a big fleet in Birmingham, correct?
Yeah,
exactly.
Martin,
but Vizu have got a big fleet in Birmingham.
Oh yeah.
So that fleet next door to him, is now his dispatch provider. So it's not with Uber Local. It was. This American company will do this, will do that, and all that kind of stuff. But what Tarpit has done, he's sold it to the fleet down the road. Do you know what I mean?
So in layman's term, it's a bit like the old days when you were fighting a vicious taxi war with your local competitor. And, maybe the days when you put punches in their cars and things, not that any of that went on in the trade in the old days. But if it did, it's a bit like that. But then so, okay, we'll be at war with each other, but let's share. You have my dispatch system.
Yeah.
And I can see all your cars and your data, your customer base and things. So it's a bit like that. But surely in this modern day and age where we're saying we should all work together, Martin, for example, might think, well, actually, I can now outsource jobs to the fleet in Birmingham via Vizu because they're doing it anyway, aren't they? Or, like we're doing with the exchange at iCabby. So will he see it that way, or will he see it as a competitor owning his system?
I think Martin will. I don't want to speak for Martin, but he. I'm guessing he'll be very positive about it.
Yeah, he's a positive guy.
He's a positive guy. But maybe Martin is a bad example. But I was just picking a Cab 9.
How will Ian Shanks see it, do you think?
I've spoken to Ian, but the conversation I promised Ian was off the record, so I don't want to yeah, I don't want to share what Ian. But
Okay, you don't have to tell us. Did Ian give you a smiley face, or was it a sad face?
No, neither. It was in different face. I think Ian's a very, very bright guy. He was there for the Ariga trapeze stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was there.
He
for
is the godfather.
He was there for the iCabby Renault stuff.
Yeah.
And whereas when we used to mention it was like a bit of a cult, or where people will believe whatever Tarpit says, right? It's like, my worry with this was it's going to happen. He's then going to sell it, because he's a good salesman, Tarpit, by the way. So he's going to sell it to them as, guys, I've done this for you. We're now going to be part of this great group of Vizu. We're going to be able to share work and nationally and national contracts and this, all this kind of stuff, right? And he would have left out the negatives all of it. But whereas some of the other smaller fleets will be easily led to, oh yeah, and a lot of the Cab 9 stuff, by the way, is pride. People switch to them because of this, oh yeah, it's well better technology and all that. And I've spoken to people who, I know they don't think it's that much more of a difference or has changed it, but just to say that we made the right decision, I've gone in and said, and their pride has led a lot of it. I think that Ian Shanks will not be led by that. I think he's a really bright guy, and if he thinks it's a great thing, hats off to him. That's his choice. It's his business. It's good. It's no business of mine. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. But what the others might be swayed by the bullshit, and I think with something like this, Ian won't be. Someone like Zahir in Burnley, again, he may think it's a great thing. I've not spoken to him about it yet, but I don't think he's the kind of character who will just buy into bullshit. And the thing about all this is that, again, going back to the Tarpit thing, is I wouldn't be calling him names or whatever if he hadn't gone about it the way he has. So who knew about it? Who didn't? So let me tell you how I found out about it this time round. So obviously it's been going on. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. So that's the news I keep saying. Because of all the shit I took from the first instance, I said, you know what, I'm going to wait and not say anything. I got a call from Nathan, CEO at Vizu, at just 2 p.m., just about an hour before it went out. Again, I promised him that was off the record, so out of respect, I'm not going to say what was said in that phone call. And then Mick Tope rang me. For those of you who don't know, CEO of iCabby, pretty much straight after that. Before it, because obviously, so I found that out and I was like, right, okay. Then I immediately rang a couple of influential large Cab 9 fleets, say, bloody hell, what's going on? And they, whereas one of them was like, I've only just found out, one of them only found out just as the announcement was going out, just before. I think they did a group call or whatever. And then the other one said, the reason I didn't jump in and wade in and give you shit and say scaremongering and all that is because I was aware it was happening. And it has been happening for a long time, and it's all been going on, and that's the reason I didn't give you any shit, and I've not been funny with you. And he hasn't, he's been sound with me, and I won't say who that is. But again, with me now, whenever I ring someone, is this on the record or off the record? So
you are like an investigative journalist, aren't you?
So after that, the next day, I got a call from DeVille. And I have, like, I think the reason I've gone a bit hard on Tarpit now is because of, I wouldn't have done, I don't think, if I hadn't had the conversation with James. Now, I said to James, I put it on his LinkedIn, I put a comment on it because he put this ridiculous post up, by the way, saying how great it is for the industry.
They've chosen Cab 9 because of the superior technology.
Right. So what happened? So, like, even Gavin Walsh. I spoke to Gavin Walsh. I was with him the other day, and he pointed to that post and said, "What the fuck was that?" Do you know what I mean? It was like it was in my opinion, that post was like insulting, right? When Vizu has openly gone round to everybody, right, including myself. Do you know what I mean? And I'll go on the record here. Don't you know what I mean? At the end of the day, if I'm lying, they could sue me. And said the reason we are requiring Cab9 is we need to have our own technology. Okay, the banks need us to have our own technology.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
As I said earlier, it's the multiple. So Vizu promote themselves to investors as a tech company.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was a fleet owning fleets. It now really is a tech company.
Yeah.
And we know they've been, as you were saying, going around DMS, that we know they had conversations with iCabby, because you told me in the pub 5 minutes before this, and we'll come to that in a second.
Oh, great.
So that's a revelation in itself. So they were literally speaking to iCabby within the last 6 months, 7-8 months. iCabby rejected them 3 times. So it's not about superior technology. Vizu needed, quite rightly so, as I would if I had their sort of money at VC, needed to acquire the technology.
Yeah.
And there's several, from my take, the reason, if it was Take Me acquiring Cab9 or any, the reason I'd be doing it is because we have to compete with ride hail, we have to create these networks, and I'd be, I don't know how many cars Cab9 have, 6,000, 10,000, whatever that figure is.
No, it's
I'd be going to those
a lot more than
operators
that,
saying, look, we want to aggregate work. All you have to do is put, A to B taxis powered by Vizu on there. Suddenly Vizu have got a wider reach, customer recognition. They can aggregate work, and the profit is always in that aggregation.
Yeah. So exactly. So that's the reason they obviously they told me. That's the reason what they told iCabby, and that's pretty much the reason that they've told everybody, and anyone with half a brain would understand that, correct? Right. DeVille on the phone, I put on his LinkedIn, I said, I think you owe me an apology, lad. I'll look forward to the call or something along them lines. So he rings me, and I went, all right, mate, you're going to start with an apology. And he went, no, I've got nothing to apologise for. I was like, why? How come? And he went, well, the deal wasn't happening then. The deal wasn't happening. And I was like, what? The deal wasn't happening a year ago. And I just literally just called this like you know what I mean? Just randomly it came into it, you know what I mean? Crystal balls, exactly. And then like, he was like, well, mate, you know that Vizu, I've been looking at Cab9 because it's better technology for a long time. And the way he was saying it, oh my God, it was like, do you know the Hassan Abad school of the script of drivel of diarrhea that comes out? It was like, oh God, what's that? That junior sales, that girl from iCabby, not iCabby, from Autocab. She came to Marrakesh. What's her name?
Oh, the
what's her name? Anyway, right, you know who I mean. Anyway,
Tilly.
Right, yeah. So when we were in when we were in Marrakesh, she had this script that she was reciting about Uber Local and how it's fantastic. And then when Uber Local got pulled, she was like, yes, we believed that it was a terrible product. It wasn't good for the market. And then after what she'd been saying, and the way she says it is like, it's like a sales, it's like, do you know when you like go to a call center and they're given a script? Mm-hmm. And DeVille had the cheek to read to me from his Tarpit script. And I said, who's told you that, mate? Tarpit? And he went, yeah. I went, yeah, well, he's a fucking liar, right? Because at the end of the day, I know what the truth was, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, well, iCabby have told you. I was like, no, mate, iCabby haven't told me, right? And the people who've acquired you have told me, right? The people who paid money for the transaction to acquire you are the ones who've told me this, right? So I was like, mate, shut up, right? You actually don't know what you're talking. And another thing as well, right? He's going around telling people it were 25 million quid that it was the acquisition for. Bollocks, right?
How much was it?
Do
we think? Allegedly.
What?
What do you think it's worth? What would you have paid for it?
Now, I would say sub 10. 10 at a push.
10.
If it was, which I believe it was, swapping shares, and Tarpit's now got Vizu shares, which I'd say it was, then it would be 10. If it was just going on number of fucking cars, nowhere near. Do you know what I mean? So again, let's talk about valuation and where this number and all this kind of stuff's come from. Now, I said to you before, I didn't like Tarpit because I think he's weaseled my mates because he's been telling them how he's like this family unit and we're together and we will do this and whatever. If he'd sold to Nissan or Daimler or whatever, right? Fair enough, because he could still maintain that family unit and do all that.
They're, to quote, they're saying we're still going to be independent.
Oh, I wonder where I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Autocab is an independent company.
Yeah.
No.
We've seen questions on various UK WhatsApp groups from... And I'll
Sorry, sorry, Dave, before you go on that, I just want to finish that one point.
Yeah.
If I've not signed an NDA, but everyone else has, can I talk about something? What?
So if you've signed an NDA...
I've not signed the NDA.
Oh, yeah, you can talk about anything you like.
Right.
You're not under NDA.
Right, brilliant. So I'm in a WhatsApp group with... look at you guys. Look at... Whoa, what's going on? What's going on?
Where are we going?
Where do we go?
I'm glad this isn't my
go.
podcast.
Right, so... We were in. I'm in a WhatsApp group with some Cab 9 mates of mine. So I call them Cab 9 mates. They're just fleets who happen to choose a particular piece of software, right?
Yeah.
But we're all friends, and we're this particular week, a couple of them are ex-iCabby. Someone had made a comment about iCabby, and they were talking about how great life is now, and friendship and family, and all this kind of things were being said in this group about iCabby. That same week, I had arranged a meeting in Liverpool with Tarpit and Mick Tope and a few other directors from iCabby, and the purpose of that meeting was to sell Cab 9 to iCabby.
Yeah.
So at that time, he must have had, like, no one knows how many cars they've got because they've changed the number weekly, but I think he was saying 10,000 cars, right?
Nice round number.
Yeah, so 10,000 cars, and he asked for 10 million quid at that time. That's why I think he would have sold for 10 million quid.
Yeah.
And so he wanted 10 million quid at that time, right?
What did iCabby offer him? Could you say?
I know, yeah, but again, because of the NDA legal stuff, right? So if it's bleeped out, guys, it's bleeped out. And and
If it's bleeped out.
blur it. So basically, there was a lot of back and forth. He was insistent he wanted 10 million, and then obviously the iCabby guys were looking at it going, he's got 10,000 cars, so it's a million quid a car, right? So like, let me give you a prime example. I've got a reseller agreement with iCabby, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll probably have probably 6,000 cars now, right? So if I've got 6,000, does that mean they're going to give me 6 million quid to taking on the cars? Because he didn't have anything else, right? Ultimately, because they were looking at the technology, like, you know what I mean? Audrin had been through it. Everyone's had a look at the technology, and like, there was nothing that they were going to take. They already had a network, everything. There was nothing that they can take from that technology to say, right, well, this makes our IP better or our offering better. So the only thing they would take is the number of cars and take in a competitor out the market, right? Which, by the way, I believe Visa has done for them now, because it's just like Autocab have made virtually no sales in the UK. That's the best of my knowledge. No sales in the UK. I like, because people don't want to have a dispatch system owned by the competitor. I think they'll probably have taken someone out of the market. But going back to the point, right? So he tried to sell it to iCabby. iCabby said no. So that would have meant that people like, again, you mentioned Ian and others who've left iCabby would have been going back. You know what I mean? Oh, we're back with that dispatch, but I guarantee none of them know about that. I bet he's never went and told anyone about that. DeVille wouldn't have had a fucking clue about it. So this is what I'm saying. Like, going back to DeVille, what really, really upset me is, like, he's a mate. He knows I'm privy to information that he's not. I guarantee he probably found out about it 2 hours before, and now he's going to tell people he knew about it all along or whatever, which he fucking, which I would believe. But again, going back to this guy, like, the cheek of then going up on stage and saying, you're like your family and I'm like this and I'm like that. Do you know what I mean? What the right thing to do is, guys, I need the money. I'm going to sell to whoever I'm going to sell to. And in the meantime, I'm going to provide you with the best service and technology that I can possibly provide you. And I will look after you because I respect you. But here's the truth. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
there's certain things as a business leader you can't talk about even to your staff because, the strategy and,
I get that, but not in the way of. It's the people I guarantee, like, behind closed doors, he'll say negative things about iCabby. Of course he will, right?
Yeah.
Of course he will. But at the same time, he would have been going, oh, please, I want to buy, you know what I mean? And, like, got the messages on my phone, how eager this guy was to sell. Like, he was all over it. Do you know what I mean? The amounts he was asking for, everything. So I'm like, it's that kind of deception that I'm not a fan of. And again, I'll say it again, I believe that everyone's a winner. Do you know who's a fucking big winner in this now, right? Autocab. Because if I was Autocab right now, I'd be jumping for joy.
It's normalised.
Or normalised it. Like, they're not like, we're not the bad guys anymore. Because they were, do you know what I mean? They were like Darth Vader and Senator Palpatine, you know what I mean? They were them two. So now it's like, it's normalised it. And that's pretty much where we're at. I truly think that a lot of people are going to look at Accordic now because... like in terms of they're an independent. They're an independent.
True independent.
They're a true independent. But again, this is what I'm saying. We know now that large taxi companies like Comfort Del Gro buying CMAC and things like that, they are the ones with the money. Now, we said 10 million quid before, right, as a share option, but cash and stuff. So just put that into process when you're acquiring fleets, right? Mm-hmm. That's a normal fee to pay for a decent-sized taxi company, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So people always do this thing where they go, oh my God, a technology company's been bought out. I'm like, mate, like the revenues involved are minuscule compared to some taxi companies are worth, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, DMS software companies as a rule, because some of them don't even make profit. I mean, I know plenty of platforms that I've invested in don't make a dime of profit, but they keep getting seed funding and funding because of the data and the high valuations they get, but they don't make profit.
So we're talking about profit and money right now. So another thing like that pissed me off was I think it was Goldring. He's put. Actually, Goldring never pisses me off. I love Goldring actually. So I think the general consensus and what people like Autocab and stuff will push this out as a thing to say that iCabby are all of a sudden in trouble with money, right? That I've heard, and it's
I think Dave Goldring on the group did say, well, now they've lost Vizu, that'd be less money for developers, which is not true.
Right. So like, let's have a look at this for honestly, it's so frustrating. It's, do you know, like the Azmat paid me to paid him to do it. That kind of that rhetoric. Just like when Autocab, I said they'd launch their own cars. Autocab's response, Uber would launch their own cars in those areas. Autocab's response: Azmat's been paid by Vizu to say this. Sorry, not by Vizu. I will do it again. Azmat's been paid by iCabby to say this. And this is like, it's just like on repeat, and it's so fucking frustrating. But you know what? Say what you will, but let's talk about revenues for a minute, okay? The revenues.
Okay, Dave Goldring's comment about less money for developers. Go for it.
So, Dotted, as a reseller, with the deals that we've done in Europe, brings in more revenue to iCabby than Vizu. Mm-hmm. Okay,
because Vizu would have cut a very good deal with iCabby originally, anyway.
Yeah, because they would have had a good. I'm not stating whether they've got a good deal or they've not got a deal. I don't think they were in the top 5 payers, and. Right, so UK guys, so the UK is probably like the best place for the taxi industry because of the people and how fun it is and how great we are. But as a technology provider, it is the shittest. It's the shittest one. You want everything. You moan about everything, and you want it for next to fuck all, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? If you just take into grasp what a technology company actually does, right? From your passenger facing, your driver facing applications, obviously everything in car, your account work, everything to run a taxi company is provided to you by Autocab iCabby, Cordic, or Cab9, they provide you a 360 solution, right? What's your average rent from a driver? And take it nationally. What do you think? What is it?
Roughly 120 to 200 quid a week.
Right. So 200 quid a week.
Compared
to paying 2-3 quid.
Yeah.
Back to the thing that runs your entire
brains of the business.
The brains of the business, right? It is mental. So compare that to the prices that they pay in America, in Britain, in Europe, and in Australia, and all those kind of places, right? So like 1,000-car fleet. On a decent 1,000-car fleet, I'm telling you now, is like 10,000 cars in the UK.
Yeah.
So the money's not in the UK. The money's abroad. These are global.
Which is why you're seeing a lot of them going.
Yeah. These are global. Do you know what I mean? Look at like Cab Online, one of, do you know what I mean, largest in Europe. Can you imagine what they're paying? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, the revenue that brings in. And one more thing, right? And I believe, and unless I was reading the Company's House wrong before I came out here, that all the other dispatch companies combined are less revenue than iCabby.
Yeah.
Autocab, Cordic, Cab9, combine them, the revenues, is less than iCabby. So if anyone there thinks that, don't get me wrong, I'm not sugarcoating it, right? So if anyone at iCabby says that, oh, they're not bothered, right? Of course they fucking are. They've just lost the biggest fleet in the UK.
But it's not like they didn't have any warning.
Exactly.
They've not had a year to kind of replace that revenue.
And by the way, that's another thing. So I've just said to you about the revenues that I will bring in. Richard Smith and his team in the UK generate a shitload of money. So think about this as well, that there's a 12-month transition period now. When in 12 months' time is when all the cars allegedly will go, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be an easy task, right? So,
I mean, if you're thinking about that, so they've got a year's window to transfer all those whatever number of cars Vizu have.
40, I think it's 13, 14. I'm not 100%. And again,
I heard about 9. But we'll somewhere in between there.
Well, yeah. So I'm not for certain, but I believe it's around 13, 14. But it might be more than that, so or less. But they've got a year to transition those cars over. So that's a year grace period where iCabby will be getting paid. Correct?
Yeah.
That's a year of Azmat and his crew and Richard and his lot and me in Europe
that revenue
back. But I'm telling you now, like in a year's time, that revenue is not a problem.
Yeah.
So,
well, you told me what's in the pipipeline, and we can't obviously divulge that. But they're easily going to smash that.
Yeah.
And fair credit to iCabby, they're the sort of cut because we had horror stories in the past when you left the dispatch system would kind of unplug you and put bugs in. But iCabby, imagine, will be honourable, and when they do the transition, they'll get the cleaner in to project manage that, or someone who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, and again, again, the thing is, though, like the toughest part about this divorce is that it's the people involved, right? Because I know how highly Mick thinks of Nathan. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's an absolute top guy. Even when he rang me, it was like so respectful and nice and all this kind of stuff. And another thing as well, we're talking about this 1 year transition, right? Mm-hmm. And another thing that I think Cab9 fleets really, 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 really need to consider right now is, okay, so if we've got, let's say, for example, you've got, I don't even know what any of their fleets are, but let's say 100-car fleet in Hull, right? Mm-hmm. And then Vizu win the. I'm making this shit up, by the way. So the AA is a client of CMAC, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that's worth a few mil, right? So let's say. So Paul Dolan and Gosney win that from Roger, and all of a sudden the AA is now a Vizu customer.
Yeah.
To put that onto their platform, they're required to do urgent technical changes to the software. This is all hypothetical, right? Mm-hmm. Who's going to get priority? The multi-million-pound AA deal because Cab9 is owned by Vizu, or is it going to be the 100-car fleet who wants a change on the app for their tech, right? They're not going to get priority. So whereas this family unit before, you can be a prime example of this, right? Mm-hmm. When Gav was took all the big boys from Autocab, right? And you were all there with your ride group and all that, suckling from his Irish teats, having the time
Some
of
of that Irish milk.
Some of the Irish milk.
Be
Yeah,
sure
so,
to be sure.
I mean, that family unit and bond thing that you have and all that kind of stuff. Did that change when Renault bought iCabby?
It did a little because it became it became more corporate.
Yeah.
And less kind of family. And then obviously Gav left, and
yeah, exactly. So like I say, like the influence that you guys have as operators on a business, when that business is self-funded, loans from the bank, a little bit of investment here and there, and trying to survive and grow, is completely different to when a multi-billion pound company comes and has got the backing because it's up to them, right? And that's where it's at. And what I'm trying to get at is the main point is the people that we named before, I don't want to keep saying their names, but the people who have been led the product, influential, testing, all that kind of stuff, it's not their product anymore, right? And this is what everybody needs to wake up and smell the coffee. Guess what? It's Visu's product. Visu will dictate what goes in, because to be most beneficial to them, they will take the most of the development time, and that's the end of it. And if anyone else thinks otherwise, they're fucking deluded. And they think, oh, well, we're run as an independent company. Yeah, right, good for you. As soon as you get a phone, if Arnie rings you up and goes, I need this now, guess what? You're going to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them. It's like... It's kind of delusional, and if there's Cab 9 fleet sat there today thinking that things aren't going to change and they're still going to be singing Kumbaya around a fire in Spain or India or wherever it is.
Yeah. Are you just jealous because you weren't invited to those parties?
I actually was invited to the first one, yeah, and then obviously I definitely wasn't invited to the second one, but yeah, I was invited to India, yeah.
So I think we've covered the acquisition there. Now, one of the things I wanted to pick your brains on, obviously there's a lot of players like Free Now coming into the marketplace, there's Uber in the marketplace, there's Waymo, there's a whole arena of AVs coming. I myself have spent some time with Geely out in China, and I know what their plans are.
Yeah.
So how do the small independent firms survive with this sea of change? You know, obviously the dispatch systems are there. You've got the taxi alliance. Could we do more with the taxi alliance, for example?
Yeah, so I'm not too up on the taxi alliance. I think you that's a Richard Smith question, but someone in the WhatsApp groups actually asked it today, and it's majority owned by taxi companies. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, it's the fleets who would decide. And again, what the taxi alliance offer you and what the protections that Cordic offer you is. It's a far safer bet, and I've said it to you, like, so people will try to pick holes in what Cordic are doing or what the taxi alliance with iCabby are doing, but I've got to say, like, what happens when Visu sells?
Yeah, who would Visu sell to, do you think?
Oh, I'm not going to say that, but let's say, okay, let's
think of worst case scenario. I'll say it. So Visu is a business. It's backed by Visu, VCs. They have to exit. So what choices there? They could IPO it.
Yeah.
They're not going to sell to me or Ian Shanks or anyone else. They're too big for that. So what other options? They could sell to Bolt. They could sell to Lyft. They could sell to Uber.
Yeah.
So in theory,
I said that to
in theory, if you know, just wild hypothetically, Cab 9 could end up being owned by Uber. Yeah,
so I would say how many like, I think, like, with the aspirations of growth that they've got at Visu, they're going to grow. And they're going to go for £1 billion valuation, and they're going to be a proper ride hailer and sell, especially now they've got their own technology.
Seem to be going down that ride hailer.
Well, they are a ride hailer. Yeah. They are a ride hailer. They're not like, do you know what I mean? They're not like, they're not
a very good app until now.
They're not, yeah. They got it. So it's like ABC, it's like ABC cars down the road. It's like they are a ride. Now they've got their own tech. They are a ride hailer. Yeah. So the thing is, they. How many people have got £1 billion to spend, right? And I said this to DeVille, and I went, "Who's going to buy you?" And he went, "Microsoft." It's like, mate, it's like, honestly.
Is he living in 1992? Microsoft.
Yep. He's not living in 1992.
Yeah.
He's living under. He's living in an abusive marriage where not his actual wife. I'm on about tap it again. And again, he's going to watch this. He's going to be pissed off. And all I'll say to you is the claims, because he's going to say, oh, iCabby's told him that they tried to acquire. I think I've got proof. So if anyone wants to see, like, did iCabby try to acquire Cab9? I've got proof. Did Vizu try to acquire iCabby? I've got proof. So, like, literally in writing, I have proof of all of those things. So if anybody thinks that, oh, he's just making it up, or I'll say it for the 15th time, or he's been paid by iCabby to make it up. So
even I've seen the evidence that Vizu tried to acquire iCabby.
Right, well, there you go.
Earlier.
Right, so
and it came from. So even you've showed me earlier, there is proof that I can vouch for him. He showed me an email that Cab9 was in discussions with iCabby. And the only reason we can talk about it because I'm not under NDA and neither are you. So
yeah, and I also showed you proof that Vizu tried to acquire iCabby. Did I not?
Yeah, that 100%.
Right. Well, there you go. So again, this is what I'm saying. So.
And there's nothing wrong with that. As I said, we would all do the same if we had Vizu's money.
Exactly, yeah. But don't go around saying things like, Vizu and iCabby are trying to part in really amicable ways and they've got a great relationship.
Which they do, because they're all adults in the room.
Exactly, yeah. But when you've got then Cab9 going in and saying they left because it's shit technology and we had superior and this and that, you're just muddying the water, and then you've got someone like me who'll call you out on it. You know what I mean? It's simple as that. If you're a prick, I'll call you out. You're a prick. You know what I mean? If you're not a prick, guess what? You're in my good books. So that's how it is.
So going back to what options independence. So there is the taxi lines, and you're quite right. You've mentioned the protections there. Now, I think personally, I've been open about this with iCabby themselves. The taxi lines is underused. I mean, at the moment, what it is, it's like a reseller. They have shares in it. iCabby owns some of those shares.
Yeah,
and there's directors like Phil Hamilton, who recently left. You've had Claire Walsh in the past. You've had the guy from
Punji's a director, isn't he?
Punji's a director.
Apollo
and Apollo.
Yeah, Wayne at Apollo. Sorry, I should say Apollo.
So they represent they sit on the board, and Richard Moore as well from ETL.
Yeah,
and they get involved with development and so on. But what I feel, because I think the members, Vizu were never part of that taxi alliance.
No.
We are, along with other taxi companies. We don't sit on the board.
But I don't think it's set with their ambitions of what they were trying, because I think it is for the independent taxi companies, and I don't think
it was set up as a reaction to the Uber acquisition of AutoCab.
Yeah, so
quite rightly. So
you could say Vizu was a competitor to the Taxi Alliance in a way.
But my point is, if you take all those cars, I think there's 45,000 cars on that network. Richard Smith would know the answer.
Yeah.
So Vizu leaving doesn't affect that network.
No.
Now, there's 40,000 cars. It's a real taxi network. It's actually better than a ride-hail network because it can get to those small market towns that Uber or any of them want. So as an aggregation machine for the exchange, it's great. I think what it's missing, it needs to go one step further. They need a national brand. So if they think of a national brand, let's call it Dotted. Dotted Taxis is now the official brand of the taxi lines. All of a sudden, Dotted Taxis are appearing from Market Drayton to Market Harbour, from Market Harbour to those little towns. Those towns aren't affected by Uber so much.
Yeah.
Okay, you get some Wolverhamptons floating into them. But all of a sudden, you've got a national brand there that is bigger maybe than Vizu, bigger than AutoCab.
Yeah.
Bigger than AutoCab? Uber, I meant.
Yeah. Call them by their real name.
Yeah. So that, I think, is the next stage for the taxi lines. Plus, on the back of there, they can obviously, like we do as Take Me, where we can consolidate on pricing. So the taxi lines, now called Dotted Taxis, could get cheaper insurance, cheaper car purchasing. They can consolidate the admin side. So in effect, it becomes an operator in its own right that each operator locally could take advantage now. They could start aggregating work as well, or work exclusively with CMAX. So there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
And I think that's possibly what Visa are trying to do with Cab9, because they can use those local operators to aggregate their own work through. So, and that's where the trade's going. It's all about networks now. And then AVs are going to come into the marketplace. And that's going to be a whole new podcast and a whole new discussion of where that leads. But I think the taxi lines is something special iCab you've got there. I think it's underutilized at the moment.
Yeah, big time. Final thought on the Cab9 Visu stuff. When we said about the Uber local comparison, how do you feel about it in terms of because quite a few people again on the WhatsApp groups are comparing it and saying, well, it's like that and etc. So do you think would you sleep at night knowing that your competitor down the road was your dispatch provider?
It's a tough one because I'm a consolidator at heart, a smaller one than Visu at the moment. But if I was a small operator, I'd be a little bit concerned if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It is, although it's less Visa is less aggressive than Uber.
Yeah.
It's still at the end of the day, it owns the system that you have.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm considering to sell to Visa in the future, that's not a problem because it saves a shit lot of time on DD because it's all there in black and white. However, if I'm not, I think Visa, as I say, most of the people that make up a Visa are people like you and I from the trades.
Yeah.
We've got that connection. But I'd still be thinking, well, actually, I'd rather go maybe do the taxi lines or Cordic or numerous other dispatch systems that are really, I'm getting news on every week.
There's one popping up every week, yeah.
Yeah, so... But a lot of people go with the dispatch system, not because of the tech. The tech is pretty the same everywhere. It's what you do with that tech. But they go for a sense of community. So you mentioned the cult of Cab9. A lot of us went with iCabby because it was the antidote to AutoCab.
Yeah.
They were less hard sales. They were more like your friends. So you go with a community and you learn from that community. So I think now that whether Cab9 will still have that same community will be debatable. And some will start jumping ship, I'm sure, as they did with AutoCab when it got bought by Uber.
He's again, Tabit's very good with customer relations. If he manages to retain all his fleets on the back of this, mate, credit to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like salesman of the year.
Cab9
award.
will grow every time Visa acquire a fleet.
Yeah, but what happens? This is what I'm saying because quite a few people have said this. But Punji is acquiring like no tomorrow, right?
D&G.
DG's acquiring. You're acquiring as well. So it's like obviously not to that scale, but if you're acquiring and Punji's acquiring, every time you guys win a fleet, it comes to iCabby. Every time Visa wins a fleet, it'll go to Cab9. Every time DG wins a fleet, it'll go to. Will it? Are they keeping him on?
I'm not sure. I heard rumours, but there you go.
Fucking hell, let's start more rumours off that. I'm done with rumours now. Right.
The original brief when you got me to come along and take over this podcast here, we were going to talk about the recently announced about the change of CEO at AutoCab. The guy that's been in the trade for 10 years in the private hire trade.
Mate, listen.
So let's talk about that. So first of all, we're going to pay respect to the former CEO who's just left the building, to Zafar. So here are his best bits. Oh, sorry, we haven't got any. Okay, we'll just carry on. So
no, look. Here's the thing about Safa, right? I've said it to you before, and I'll say it to you again. So, if I was to list who I think, some of the smartest people in the industry, like who I think are like really smart. So like Safa, 100% up there. People like Scott Ashmore is an absolute genius. He'll make billions, by the way.
Scott's got lovely hair, hasn't he?
He has got lovely hair, but one day, I'm telling you now, I'm not just saying this because he's my boy, but he's going to one day come up with an idea that's going to make him a ridiculous amount of money. I wish I could afford him. And then Bob Nixon's very intelligent.
Less hair.
and then Safa, like very, very bright guy. I've got to say that he brought me into the industry.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there'd be no Dotted, there'd be none of these podcasts.
Did it groom you?
So, but I honestly, that's great, but this is the guy who was the architect behind Uber Local, and the guy who came up with it. So some of the people who were putting comments, Safa, thanks for everything on his LinkedIn before you go, honestly, like the crimes that I believe, in my personal opinion, it's like, I honestly could not believe when people were commenting and leaving stuff. This is a guy who brought in brought in Uber through the back door in our industry, allowed them to launch their own vehicles, allowed them to do these discounts that decimated some of our dear friends' businesses and all that kind of stuff.
It was not really a crime. We did allude earlier on this podcast that if Uber offered you 100 million, you would have let them in your back door.
Not to the. I would. What I said was I would sell Dotted tomorrow to Uber for 100 million quid. Right.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't do is destroy and detriment all my mates and everyone who's built me up and put me into thing. And you know me really well. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, right? I'm all like ballsy and this and that, but at heart, I would never. No,
you do look after your friends.
Friends, yeah. And do you know what I mean? I wouldn't go out and hurt my friends for my own personal gain, because then you're just a scumbag. And yeah, I just think I thought that was ridiculous. So that was good. But you made a point earlier about the marketing efforts of Autocab to say the new CEO has been in the market for in the industry for 10 years. All his experiences at Uber.
So, a quick look at his LinkedIn profile: from college to Uber, South Africa, Uber there, everywhere.
And I was like, you did not think anyone was going to pick up on that? I mean, like, honestly, like, who is behind Autocab's propaganda?
You know what? If you're listening, Autocab, I'm sure you are with your lawyers, but I always think your PR, there's some great PR experience just in this very room. The other thing that made me laugh was it New Year when somebody in Brazil resigned and put a load of shit on LinkedIn about Autocab, and they said, "Oh, we must have been hacked."
Oh, mate, listen. So I can shed some light on that. So fucking hell, I didn't forgot about that. So the guy who did it, I messaged him on LinkedIn straight away. He replied back to me, "Hi, Azmat, can we talk?" He then WhatsApped me his number. We had conversations back and forth. They were screwing him out of money, and he
allegedly.
That's no, allegedly. It's what he says. I've probably got it in black and white, so they can sue me if they want. But I'll just get the messages up. And he turned around to me and said that they were doing him out of money, and that it was his last resort to go online and put all this. But when he put the messages up, all of a sudden he'd got a contact. I think he said Wazim and rang him or whatever to do the deal with him. Like Autocab, the thing about Autocab now is. I've gone, so in Europe, when I've gone head to head with multiple, with them against them in multiple situations and proposals and trying to win customers, I've not lost once. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm not lost once is because the trump card always is, yeah, but they're fucking owned by Uber, right? And everyone's like, oh, right, yeah, fair enough, right? So it's like, it's like Uber took them out of the market, right, for me. So thank you very much. So if there's anyone out there who thinks that they're still an independent company, when an Uber career man has now come in to take control of their business, do you think they give a shit about 50-car fleet in Yorkshire or whatever? Do you think they give a crap?
No.
Right, exactly. So, like, where they're headed in terms of trying to do Uber local and sharing Uber work and building Uber trips all over the world and doing that is where they're headed. They'll use Autocab technology to partner with them fleets and do that. I think they put something in about like being a major player in Dubai, but actually I think they only do a portion of in-car technology that's outsourced to them or something like that.
Yeah,
it's just the way that they're doing it. So I've gone on about it numerous times, but it's always, the marketing's always focused on Z-Trip or Helsinki because it's the only two that they've actually got.
Here's a thought: if you were employed by Autocab, if you still were in the fancy head office just around the corner from here, that everything is moving out of the UK to Dubai, America.
Yeah.
And if you were Uber, would you not think, well, actually, it's too expensive to run this outfit in the UK. We should move all the sales team and have, use Pakistan or somewhere else. Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know whether they could do it.
Do you think they will retain that UK? Especially with our current government, there's taxing us and everything. Would it make more sense to move it out of the UK to America or
potentially
Middle East?
Potentially, I just think that I don't know what the game is now because, like, are they going to double down and try to push the Uber local stuff in different countries, because they're not primarily pushing the dispatch system. It's more like the partnerships between Uber and taxi fleets and how they can work together. Again, the Z-Trip deal, I don't know if it's correct or not, but the figures I was given were that Z-Trip receive $1 million worth of work a month from them or from Uber or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's different than the States, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've met, because over in the States, those Uber cars aren't licensed. It's like you can own an old Prius and just stick it as a rideshare thing. Yeah. So actually, people generally prefer the taxis. So when I was in San Francisco, companies like Yellow Cabs and so on, we're doing a lot of Uber work because they appear on the Uber as taxis and people book them because they know that the guy that got pissed last night might turn up in his Prius on the network. So they're not licensed. So it is different out there to the UK market. But
fair play. But honestly, like the fleets in the UK now, like what are your thoughts who are still on Autocab? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm surprised they haven't moved, to be honest. I mean, the problem is, because Autocab's tech is quite good, and we can all admit to that.
Hands down, there's no dispute.
You've got companies that will sit there and swear because they're frightened of change. And then they're seeing a changing market like Cab9 suddenly going to a different owner and so on. So they went, well, probably best are off.
I'll just stay where I am. Stay where I am.
Stay where I am.
Because I'll go there and then they'll get bought or whatever. I might as well just stay where I am.
And some might be just old and tired and just think, well, I've only got a few more years and then retired and then I'm going to exit anyway or pass it to my son. So there's probably various reasons. And some people, we come a lot of fleets, they don't really get the tech. They don't understand it and they're scared of it. So I think there's multiple reasons. But some of the more astute ones, you think you've got to question why they're still there. Yeah. But, that's up to them. And
have you met the new CEO?
No, I was hoping to bump into him at PHTM. I believe he was there.
Yeah, I saw him on a picture.
Quite young, isn't he? I didn't know whether to shake his hand or give him a Kinder surprise.
Yeah, I've not had the pleasure, and I doubt I'll be having an audience with him either.
Oh, he'll know who you are.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's probably a dartboard there with your face on it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
There's probably one at Cab9's office now as well after this.
Yeah. At least there's not one at Cordic because you've been quite nice to them.
Who, Cordic?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'll say, before we sign off, I will say to everyone, anyone who is worried about what this means and are thinking of moving, go on to LinkedIn and search for Chris Wrigley. He's your man for Cordic, and search for Richard Smith. He's your man at iCabby. One of them is operator owned and the other one is operator owned through Taxi Alliance and gives you protections.
And there are other dispatch systems available. There's a few more at PHTM this year that's springing up. So
yeah, but I don't trust it. I don't know these. I don't know these new ones. You know what I mean? So I'll steer clear. But
not even touched your drink.
I know. No.
To be honest, now he's lost that much weight, even a sniff of alcohol. Look at him. Half the man he used to be. Go back and look at the other podcast. I'm on his diet, I'm sure. But no, it's been great for you to come and join me today on my podcast.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Lovely.
But thanks for joining us. We do appreciate your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you've been offended about anything we mentioned in today's podcast, then there is a helpline below. We won't give a fuck. But do get in touch if you've been affected by any of the issues in today's podcast. And James DeVille, if you're watching, we do love you. I think you're a smashing bloke. And
that's not what you said before.
No. Autocab, he ripped me off. Well, he lied to me basically. But that was also, what it was like at Autocab. It was selling double glazing. Yes. Look at this feather going down there when you're selling double glazing.
Honestly, hand on. I don't mean to be tough on DeVille. The situation has pissed me off. I don't think he'll want to speak to me again, but I'll tell you, he's an awesome guy. I love him. He's always been one of my closest mates in the industry. Yeah. But like I said, the way this has been handled was shit.
Yeah. Maybe he was a victim in this all himself. And
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we love you, James. If you ever need a job. So until next time, stay tuned. Keep liking, keep sharing. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
One for the road. One for the road. Are you ready? Let us sit and talk. Take a sip and talk. One for the road, everybody.